So Minnesota also extended Rick Spielman to match up with Mike Zimmer's contract now. So that continues to be a trend. They've always kind of matched up since Zimmer got there. So it makes sense. Now, once again, I know that there will be many people, much like the Zimmer one, where they're like, settling for mediocrity. But I really don't think that's what this is. And it's hard to say this without a lot of the same defense arguments popping up that I made in the Zimmer video. But the one where, like, despite constant quarterback turmoil, they have still won nearly 60% of their games, at least in the regular season, which is, it's just barely under 60, 59.9%. Just for reference, Pete Carroll's regular season percentage is at 59.6, and I don't really hear anybody calling for his head just yet, so there's that. And then you also have guys like Ron Rivera, who only lasted, on the market less than a week or two, I think. I'm not really sure the time frame he was hired, but I knew he didn't have to wait long, and he was fired right after the season. And he's at 54.6%. Once again, Zimmer's way above. And sometimes I think it just gets kind of lost how competent this duo has been for the Vikings. And there's a lot of people that don't understand it. And once again, if you just want to go by percentages and wins, Doug Peterson's regular season percentage is below that at 59.4. Yes, just barely below, but still below. And I know there are going to already be some saying like, yeah, but that's it's regular season success. That has nothing to do with the playoffs. These don't matter. These are games that don't matter. And to those people, I have a thing coming up. But the fact that they've at least been competitive, with the fact that, they've had 4 different quarterbacks have winning records under Zimmer in this Spielman-Zimmer era, which are Sam Bradford at 9-8, Case Keenum at 11-3, 17-11 for Teddy Bridgewater, and now Kirk Cousins at 18-12-1. Not many guys get to go through 4 and still be there. He knows what he's doing, and this is also the first time the offense since 2015 isn't learning a new playbook. So that kind of means they've had no stability at all throughout this entire tenure. Because Zimmer was brought here in 2014. So 2014 and 2015, the offense had the same playbook, and then every other year, that was switching. And that's a little ridiculous, the fact that they're still even competitive and putting up comparable numbers to teams that have had that stability. Because since Zimmer became the coach in 2014, he and Sean Payton have actually posted near identical records. 57-38-1 for Mike Zimmer, and 58-38 for Sean Payton. And remember, if Daniel Carlson makes a kick in that Green Bay game, they are exactly tied. And there is no ifs or buts about that. If he makes one of those 3 kicks, they are tied for regular season records. And that's the only real difference there. And I know, once again, people will bring up, yeah, but playoffs. During the same time frame since 2014, they've actually had the same record in the postseason, 2-3, where actually Zimmer and the Vikings and, this team that both he and Spielman have built are 2 of his 3 losses. So he's had very comparable success to those who are put onto pedestals, whether it be by the media or by fans, or at least just the team in general. So keeping these 2, I feel like, is kind of common sense, and I feel very odd that I have to come out and basically defend this, or at least feel like I do, to you guys. And because to me it just makes sense to do this. They haven't had stability, and meanwhile here they are, constantly competitive and in these games. And it's like if they can just get a little bit of stability, we might see some really great things here. And it finally looks like they're getting some with they finally have a quarterback that's played, week 1 in 2 consecutive seasons in Kirk Cousins, going on 3 now. That's the first time that's happened in the Zimmer era, whether even just 2, not just 3, but 2. He's never had the same week 1 starting quarterback. Before Kirk Cousins, that did not exist. And once again, putting up comparable numbers or sometimes favorable numbers to those like Pete Carroll. And it's just weird. Like, I feel like I shouldn't have to defend this, but here we are. So I feel like this was a pretty easy decision by the ownership, or at least should have been a pretty easy decision by ownership. And it's also why whenever people bring up the topic of firing these two, or especially Zimmer, I kind of go and it's like, well, you better be guaranteeing a guy like Tomlin or a guy who's better than Tomlin, because that's the only way I feel like you can guarantee me improvement. And because anything else is probably going to be a downgrade. Like, I don't think people realize how good this has actually been. Even if it hasn't been perfect, it's still been more than what a lot of teams have. And these guys just don't grow on trees. So it's just what it is. I would like to know your guys' comments down below. Liking and subscribing, super helpful. YouTube algorithm stuff and all that. And until next time, I bid you all adieu.